Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Bennett, and I'm a partner development manager at Solver for our Velosio partnership. Velosio is one of our top Solver partners. They've won numerous Solver awards each year for their consistent and expert approach to implementing Solver's corporate performance management suite for their clients. And I want to thank them for having us all here today and for hosting this. And joining me is Rose Shaw. She's a senior solutions engineer here at Solver, and she's going to be getting into a demo at the end. So overall, today we'll talk a bit about being a data-driven organization from a high level and how Solver can be that single version of the truth as a corporate performance management and financial planning and analysis solution that spans not only the Office of Finance for reporting and budgeting, but across all your departments in your organization as a single solution to use. Then Igor with Velosio will share some of the offerings that they have at Velosio for Solver and getting that implemented. And then we'll end with the demo that will be live with Rose. So becoming a data-driven organization using Solver, really, as you know, data has become the new currency. But companies struggle with turning that data into information. We do know that if you wrestle with the data long enough, it will eventually talk and it will tell a story. And that story can help you with your strategic decisions in your business. But companies struggle with getting it to that story, getting it to that insight. So being data-driven organization really means that your data is at the core of every decision-making process. It is a popular goal amongst businesses right now. You're probably all going through this. You want to become data-driven, and it brings a number of benefits. There was a report by Forrester. Data-driven companies are growing right now at an average of more than 30% annually. So when you follow the steps to becoming a truly data-driven organization, it can have its advantages. But how do you get the data to become meaningful without having to wrestle with it so much and with less effort? And that's what we're going to show you today with Solver. So landing a data-driven strategy here at a high level, it's a strong data-driven culture. It's one where data is at the foundation for decision making. And there's another article you can search on from Harvard Business Review. It's around the biggest obstacles to creating a data-driven business. They're not really just technical, it's actually cultural as well. So that's where I kind of have this slide here to talk about the journey to get there. It's simple enough to describe how to inject data into decision-making processes, but it's harder to make this normal or automatic for employees. And so that there's a shift in their mindset that can be presenting a daunting challenge. And usually it's the reason is there's so many different tools. They don't know which one to use. They don't know where the data is. What's the one version of the truth? So starting at the top there, you look at championing analytics from the top. It really has to be at the top, the senior leadership, and then working across all departments. And then you define your analytics strategy. Set your objectives. So what the insights that are important to your business? What answers do you need? And then you'll actually find that once you implement a data-driven strategy and use analytic solutions like Solver, you'll start to get answers to questions you never even knew you had because you're seeing a data in a different way. It's telling you a story. Next, you want to establish this analytics culture that I talked about. Use analytics in all your conversations, in meetings, to support the conversation, to provide context and meaning when you're making business decisions and when you're asking that of others within your organization. Support it with the data, and not just the data, but the information, the insights that come from the data. And then use the right technology, one version of the truth, not a bucket of different tools that all have their own separate databases and need to be integrated and moved back and forth. You need one version of the truth and one solution that's consistent and easy to use across all departments. And then that final one, empower, educate, and enable access to the data. This is where we come full circle back to the cross-department approach. You want to have that insight available to everyone across the company, make it accessible to everyone. And the Solver can show you how to do that. And really what Solver is we are a corporate performance management solution. And what is CPM? It's actually all of this. It's FP&A, financial planning and strategic analysis, enterprise strategy, drivers, planning, communication, reporting, forecast, eliminations, workflow, manpower, all of this. I won't go through all of it, but this is really what CPM is. It's all these things. And traditionally, a lot of these things have been done with multiple tools or multiple modules from different tools that really aren't connected and they require a lot of heavy integration or exports and imports. And you have to learn multiple tools. Each one of these may have had its own language to get the data into a usable format. That is until now. Solver does all of this in one suite, one cloud, one platform that's easy to implement and easy to learn. And it really can be distilled down into sort of these three categories. We handle reporting and analytics all in one suite. We have pre-built enterprise resource or ERP connectors and a Power BI connector as well. We offer a full planning solution within the same suite, budgeting, forecasting, and sales planning. And we offer full consolidation. And here's what the structure of this looks like. At the center of this is the data warehouse. Solver includes a data warehouse that runs on Microsoft Azure. It's included as part of your Solver subscription. You don't need to set up a separate or buy Solver or buy Azure separately. It's all included, and that becomes your one version of the truth. In that data warehouse, we can pull in from, in this example, I have Microsoft Dynamics 365, support GP, SL, Business Central, Finance and Operations, all the Microsoft products. But we also support a number of other ERPs, Sage Intacct. Maybe you've got a homegrown ERP or what I would refer to as a legacy ERP system. We can bring all of those together into this data warehouse for a single version of the truth, along with non-ERP data, such as payroll data. Maybe you're collecting web statistics on different parts of your business. Production, inventory, everything can be brought in. You can even pull in cloud data from third-party cloud providers. So Azure Data Marketplace has billions of data sources that you can bring in into our cloud and then report on those. So you can start doing both financial and statistical data all across the org. And that's what you're seeing across the top. I mean, these are the different CXOs who can then bubble this down to their department heads so everyone can use Solver. One of the nice things about using Solver with the Dynamics platform and actually the Sage platform is we have something called a quick start. And it's a wizard-driven approach to basically, we know what BC and finance looks like on the back end, and we bring that data into the data warehouse for you automatically into something we call the Stargate schema in this data warehouse. Once it's in that format, you immediately have access over here on the right to an entire template marketplace that we have with hundreds of report templates, budget input forms, and over 50 Power BI dashboards. I don't even really call these templates because they'll have your data in them immediately. You don't need to customize them. You don't need to do anything to them. You'll basically pick one, download it to your shopping cart, no charge, and then run it, and you'll see your data in that. And we're constantly adding to this template marketplace. It's really a great approach. You basically go into a marketplace, find some report templates that look like a layout that you'd like, and they're very creative. So some of these are looking at your data that you've never really seen it that way before. You put them into your cart and you start using them right away. They immediately have your data, but you can customize them and then keep using them from there. So starting with this really slide could apply to anything or any of the ERPs, but if you look at D365, so right now you might have BC, SL, GP. We notice you have a variety of ERPs for the people that are on this webinar. You know, here's what you look at some of the functionality you've got here on the left. That's within your ERP. And we know that there's gaps. These aren't good reporting solutions, ERPs. They're also not good budgeting solutions. They typically don't have strong consolidation capabilities and things like that. So this slide is meant to demonstrate where Solver can extend on some of that functionality and in many cases completely provide that functionality for you. We see this especially with BC. They have what they call the BC reports in there. What used to be called account schedules. But if you're coming from something like Great Plains, GP, or SL, you may have been used to FRX or Management Reporter, and now you've come over to BC, or you're thinking about going to BC. You'll notice that those products will not work with BC. You'll need Solver, but Solver, you don't have to wait. You can start with Solver now because Solver works for GP and SL and those other products. So that can be your gateway when you move over from those systems over to BC or over to finance. You'll keep your Solver implementation and your reports just need minor tweaking. So you don't need to wait. You can start now with this. But you'll notice when you get to BC, Solver can answer all those questions. And as I said earlier, it's really a suite. So every user of Solver gets everything. The data warehouse with all the connectors that connect to multiple data sources, not just ERPs. You can pull in statistical data. We have a SQL connector that can connect to any SQL database. You get the reporting that includes financial and operational consolidations. You get dashboards included. You get access to planning, full budgeting, forecasting, what if analysis. Rose is going to get into a bit of this in the demo. This truly has great workflow, so you're not sending Excel spreadsheets back and forth. You're building everything in Excel, but with the data warehouse supporting you on the back end. So when people update their budgets, they're doing it in one place via the web. No more having email spreadsheets around. You also get access to that marketplace forever. All those templates that I mentioned, you keep adding to those every day, so they're always growing. You'll get also access to an online demand platform, e-learning platform that also has full certification. You'll earn Solver badges. And all of this is included on our cloud. It's secure, SOC 2 and HIPAA compliant. It can integrate with your Azure Active Directory for one seamless login. All of this is available for $100 per user per month. All of it. It's all inclusive. Igor will get into some of the pricing a little bit later, but it really is that simple to get up and running. So a little bit more about us. You can read about us on Dresdner and G2. The customers love us. We've got a number of great reviews out there that talk about Solver. We have a number of clients out here. Just an example of some of the 4,000 plus clients we have worldwide. And finally, we have offices around the globe. We are based in California. I'm actually based in Canada, but we can see we have offices around the world. So it is truly an international product. So that's a bit about Solver and the background on that and how it can really help you become a data-driven organization. You're not having to learn multiple tools, multiple products, one suite that works with all of your data across your departments. So with that, I'll hand it over to Igor, who's going to get a little bit more into some of the offerings that they have. Hi, Igor. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Mark. Thank you. Thank you for that. My name is Igor. I'm the consulting manager on the Velosio side. My team is responsible for implementing Solver and aligning Velosio strategy to the Solver strategy. And I'm here to show you some of the offerings that we've put together. This is by no means everything that we do for our clients in Solver, but this is an offering that we've been talking about for our clients, allowing our clients to take advantage of Solver very quickly. So I'm here to show you our Solver Quick Start offerings and the vision behind those. So just a few more slides, as I'm sure you're waiting to get into the demo of Solver and see it. So the vision behind the Solver Quick Start offerings that we've developed at Velosio is to empower clients very quickly and at an efficient cost. So we try to minimize the cost to our clients and giving them all the pre-built configuration available right within Solver. So maximizing user adoption and minimizing customizations. We know that reporting solutions, custom reporting solutions can become pretty pricey. So we want to take advantage of everything that's available as a pre-built configuration within Solver and get our clients trained in using Solver quickly. Go ahead, Mark, on the next slide. The two offerings that we want to show you is for Solver that we've developed are Solver Reporting and Solver Reporting and Planning. The reason why we are doing two separate ones is there are clients that are always interested in just doing some reporting to start. Maybe they already have an existing planning process that they would love to transition eventually into Solver, but they just don't have the capacity to do it at the moment. At the same time, they want to take advantage of all the reporting that's available. So that's why the phased approach. Really, your licensing, as Mark mentioned, includes all the functionality with Solver. And so you're able to implement Solver in phases if you do it with Velosio. The foundation to these offerings is provisioning the environment, using all the pre-built data integrations and all the pre-built reports. And then really it's a lot of training from our Velosio team experts who have developed Solver assets for a lot of clients for many years. Go ahead and click the next slide, Mark. It kind of breaks down what's included in these two packages, some project management, environment provisioning, setup and configuration, data integrations, and you can see training, right? So we're interested in training our clients. Now you might ask what does that training look like? There is Solver Academy training available, right? And it's a pretty dynamic, robust, very mature LMS system, allowing you to get certifications in Solver. So why do additional training with Velosio? And on the next slide, I show you why. So we want to use the Solver Academy as much as we want. Go ahead, Mark, click the next slide there. So what's included in the training, right, are modular type modular workshops that our Solver professionals on the Velosio side will walk through with your team. These are about 2 to 2.5 hours, allowing you to consume the information. It also makes it easy to schedule these. The difference between doing this additional training is really three things that I'm mentioning up top there. We would be actually working with your data So we would be teaching you how to write your reports in already a configured solver environment. So you're not just viewing videos, you're also able to right away create some reports as you follow along. We put no restrictions on the number of trainees. So if you want to train your entire team and join these, you are welcome to do that. And then you get all of the content from the trainings. There's no restrictions. So we will share the recorded sessions with you, the presentation slides, the writing, the report examples, all of it you get to own. So that's what's included in the reporting package. Next slide, Mark. Just two more slides here. The goal, of course, with these quick start packages is to get you here, to get you to all the pre-built reports and planning forms that are available with Solver, right? As we train you how to use these and write your own reports. So day one, after you're done configuring your environment and after you've completed the training, you have access to a whole lot of standard reporting. And when I share these templates, clients are always impressed at the templates that are available. They're really mature, have been used for a really long time. They're really dynamic, robust templates. Last slide, I get this question a lot. What does it take to actually implement? And here's an example of a project plan of what it might look like to deploy a quick start offering. And it takes about 3 to 4 weeks, but really it's based on the pace of the client. There's a lot of training involved, as you saw. So we want to go at your pace, and we find that about 3 to 4 weeks is a good pace for your organization to learn and go along with us. If you are interested, the call to action is reach out to your account representative at Velosio. Feel free to reach out to me. If you already talked to me, I would be happy to discuss what we do for clients for Solver. If you have a connection with an account representative at Velosio, go ahead and follow that path as well, and they'll eventually connect you with us, and we'd be able to talk about these packages with you. With that, I turn it over to Rose, who'll show you the demonstration of Solver.
Wonderful. Thank you,
All
Igor.
right.
Hi, Rose. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Igor. All right, so we'll jump right into the product. And before we do that, just two quick slides here. One just around the agenda of what we're going to cover today. And this slide here really covers some of the common pain points that we see clients coming over to Solver. If you are using a standard ERP today, just some of those reporting and budgeting challenges. So some of the manual processes that you might be doing today from a budgeting and forecasting standpoint in Excel. And we can just hit right through them, Mark. So we'll go ahead and say some of the limitations here around the budget contributors. So just being able to have that strategic alignment within the organization. There's of course lack of visibility in terms of the budget inputters versus what the executive team decides. And then naturally the budget collects stuff. So if you are using a manual process like Excel today, there is a lot of infrequent reforecasting, infrequent budgeting, and of course, lack of that analysis because it's so manual and painful that it takes a while to get through some of those different iterations of your budgets or your forecasts. So what we're going to cover today, next slide. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about how Solver can help you with the budgeting piece, which includes not only building some of the budgets and forecasts, but also empowering some of those budget owners. So we'll talk a little bit about the workflows. We'll talk about the forecasting and reforecasting model. We'll talk about how we can pull in different data sources together into Solver. So not just your GL information, but we'll take a look at some of that other stat and operational information coming in. And then lastly, we'll conclude with some dashboarding and talk a little bit about Power BI. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and take control, share my screen, and dig right into the Solver product here. All right, so you should be able to see Solver's homepage here pulled up in front of you. So we are a cloud-based solution, just like any other website that you might be logging into. And on the left-hand side, you're going to notice the navigation pane. And this is broken out into those two major components that Mark mentioned. So the reporting piece, as well as the planning component for budgeting and forecasting. So we're going to start here with the input template section. And this is where you're going to house all of your budgeting and forecasting pieces that you're going to perform within Solver. Mark's already mentioned that our designer to build any of our templates, whether it's from a planning standpoint or any reports that you might be doing in Solver. It's all pure native Excel, so you're not learning any of the proprietary solutions to be able to build any of it, just regular Excel with, of course, the data warehouse that we have sitting there in the back. Naturally, for starters, you will have your GL information pulling in from any of your ERPs. So whether it's Business Central or F&O or Nav or SL, again, we're going to be connecting the GL information as a starting point. And we'll talk a little bit about this in the end, but just so you know that there are other sources of information that you can pull in as well. So typically for budgeting and forecasting, we see clients want to connect to their payroll system, for example, to pull in employee level detail and information that they can budget at, maybe some revenue information or sales information from a CPM tool, maybe any expense level information from a system like Concur as an example. So there are all these different sources that you can pull in and connect to within Solver's data warehouse to be able to budget and forecast at that level. So on my screen here, you see different areas of the budget and different components that are broken out into these different, we call them forms or templates. And we're going to start off here as an example to just walk through the budget process using a payroll budget. And I like to use this because I think this is most relatable. One of the bigger expenses for most clients here are around salary expenses. So what you can see here is something that we've connected to pulling in from a payroll provider. So regardless of what you're using, whether it's, sometimes we might have folks that use specific ERPs for their payroll, but sometimes you might be using specific payroll systems around ADP or Altipro or UKG. We are pulling in information here at the employee level. So you see a list of full-time and part-time employees coming in. This is our most granular payroll form. You don't have to do it at this level. You can keep it a little bit more high level, but this is just what I have here to display the granularity that you can budget at. If I keep scrolling here to the right, you'll see it calculates things like taxes, total compensation, and then of course it'll calculate some of these taxes that we see here around FICA, FUTA, SUTA. If I keep scrolling, you'll see 401k, you'll see some of the benefit calculators in there. And then you'll see these different rates and maximums that we've applied in order to calculate them for the different employees. These are called drivers or assumptions within the tool, and this is something you can determine within Solver before you start a component of your budget. So this is specifically for, of course, payroll and personnel, but if you have any components, let's say around useful life, for example, for your CapEx or fixed assets budgeting, maybe any assumptions around travel, so you might have airfare rates or hotel rates, and calculate those travel budgets accordingly. So really you can enter and save those assumptions directly within Solver. And this brings us to a good point here where I'm going to talk a little bit about how this budget information gets stored. So any of these yellow cells that you're going to see here, these are data entry cells. So I'm going to go ahead and use this form here to budget for a new employee as an example. So let's say I want to hire someone in May here, a full-time employee, and I'm doing this by hours, can be done by FTE as well. When I put in a salary number here, you see it puts in that budgeted placeholder here for that specific employee that you are looking to hire. Salary calculation starting here in March based on the hire date. Of course, all these attributes that I'm pulling here for the employee are customizable and flexible. So based on your payroll system, whatever you're looking to pull into the tool, you can start filling out some of those fields. And you will notice the Save Data button throughout the budgeting tool. So as soon as you've completed the budgets, you're going to go ahead and save this data. What this does is basically save all the budget information within our data warehouse, which means that you're going to notice these parameters here at the top. These are basically advanced filters for you to be able to pick and choose where you are trying to save the budget. So currently I'm saving the budget against this specific parameter combination, which includes a certain entity in a certain department against a certain scenario for a certain time period. So this is where your budget is being saved within the tool real time. And what I mean by that is you don't have to wait for any updates or refresh. As soon as you enter in your budgets, you're saving the information and you'll see that change reflected within either different budget templates or any other reports that you might be running within the tool as well. We'll take a look at some of those popular variants like budget to actual type reports in here as well. But really just to talk a little bit about the concept here is that anything that you're doing in here gets saved instantly in real time for you to be able to report against that information. And this template here specifically, you'll also notice it's pulling in some of those exact GL accounts that it's hitting, so you can see those number reflect, see those changes reflect as well right away when you save that information. There are just a couple things here that are more commonly asked every time I am presenting this. So I'm just going to briefly mention those here. The form isn't capturing a couple things. So one of the popular asks we get is being able to include different assumptions or different drivers versus having what I have here globally. So I'm just assuming all the employees here are using the same tax rate. You might tell me that you have employees across the region, across different countries that might be using different tax rates. Again, just a matter of adding a couple columns into a form like this where we specifically state which tax rate needs to be applied to which employee. The second scenario here would be around some allocations. So again, a popular ask is being able to allocate your expenses for each employee to maybe different departments or different funds or different projects or programs. Again, just a matter of adding a couple columns to the form where you specify the exact allocation percent and how you want to allocate those employees out. So here are just some common scenarios that this form doesn't cover, but something that's totally doable within the tool that I thought I'll briefly mention here. And the last thing that I'll talk about here is your capability to create as many different scenarios and versions as you like. So typically, of course, from a budget standpoint, you're probably looking at anywhere between 1 to 3 versions that you might be building. So of course, you'll have your typical annual budget, and then sometimes you might have a reiterative budget around some board approvals or going through some executive level decisions and wanting to change those. Where we mostly see folks creating different versions is around the forecasting piece. So depending on how frequently you want to forecast or reforecast, whether you're doing it on an ad hoc basis today and you want to get to more of a quarterly or a monthly level forecast, the tool basically gives you the capability to create as many of those different versions. We do support both zero-based as well as pre-populated. So if you want to start from scratch, you can do that. Or if you want to just copy and paste from an existing version and move to a new one, you can use the original forecast or the original budgets there as well. All right, so this form here just gives you a little bit of an idea around what that budget might look like. And of course, this is one component. With some of those marketplace reports, you will have some pre-built budgeting tools and templates available to you as well if you want to look at some GL budgeting, different components of your budget that you might be looking to achieve. But I do want to switch over to talk a little bit about the workflow piece, and then we'll talk about the forecasting. So within the planning tool in Solver, you will receive access to workflows. And what these are basically automated distributions of these different templates that you've built. So let's take a scenario here or an example. So let's say you've built out your personnel model, you've built out some drivers, you've built out your fixed assets and travel model, and you're just regular, your OpEx expenses as a part of it. And now you are looking to get some input from the different people in your organization to enter in their budgets or forecasts for their area of responsibility. So what you would do is you would come into this workflow area here and you would build out a workflow. I'm going to edit this one here so you can take a look at what it looks like. You can fill out some of the properties here at the top. This really covers just things like name, timeframes, if you have a level of approval that you need to go through, so whether it's a single level approval or multiple approvals that it needs to go through to approve the budget. And here at the bottom of the list is where you're going to attach those different templates that you want to send out to the users. And you're going to assign them to the different users. I've just assigned everything to my one end user profile here, but in your case, you might have a combination of 5, 10, 15 different users or department managers who need to enter in their budgets. Once you have the workflow set up here from a power user or administrative standpoint, and what I mean by that is a user that has full security and full control, You then have the capability to, like I said, distribute this out to those different owners. One key thing to note here is that each user that logs into the Solver tool can have their own level of security. So you as a user will give access to those different users based on their data access, based on the security, based on certain departments or companies that they might just be able to see. So you can limit that control, and the workflow takes that into account automatically. So once you create the workflow, let's say it's an expense template, it's the same template but needs to be distributed out to 10 different department managers. You just create the workflow once, you send out that template, it goes to each user based on their access, so they all receive the same template, but they can input or enter in data for their area of responsibility. And you as a power user can also take a look at the status of the workflow, so who started working on it, who's in progress, who's completed it. And we'll quickly take a look at the end user view here as well. So I'm going to switch tabs here, and I've logged in as a user who is going to receive an assignment or a workflow that needs to be completed. So when I click into the assignment section here, once I'm logged into Solver, I'm going to click into the workflow that we were taking a look at, and here are all the templates that were assigned to me as a user. When I click into an expense template here, and I have left this template blank on purpose just so I can do some data entry here, but in your case, you can have this pre-populated, of course, with an existing budget or an existing forecast. And this form here on the right also has some comparative information. So if you want to pull in multiple years, multiple versions, anything that you think will help those budget owners to enter in accurate budgets, you can definitely include those within some of the budget forms that you're building as well. This just has the 1 year, but you can include as much information there as well. And you will notice here within the parameters that these parameters are locked in here for me. They're grayed out, so it doesn't give me the capability to switch my departments or my entities here because this is all I have access to. So here is where that security control takes place. And let's say you have a user that has access to more than one department or more than one entity. This would then basically activate here for you where you can it'll display a magnifying glass and you can pick and choose specific departments or specific locations that you want to be able to budget for using the same form here. And I won't go into too much detail around how you can budget, but just know it is very similar to an Excel workbook. But of course, you can see there's no manual distribution. There's no Excel required. Everything is directly here into the cloud portal. So if I were to just enter in some budget data here, I can do that. I can use formulas directly within the cell here if I like. So a lot of the Excel capabilities and functionality. And just two added things onto here is our capability to be able to budget a little bit more granularly. So if you want to be able to not just budget at the GL level, but go down a level deeper, so you can use something we call line item details. This gives you access here to budget again at that granular level. And as and when I'm inputting this information here, you'll see it's accumulating that total number here for that month, denoted with a red triangle, saying that there's line item details in here. So I can go down a level deeper here by vendor, enter in specific comments around these details, and then everything that I'm doing here, I can spread and adjust certain data as well based on how I want to be able to spread it by different months and adjust them accordingly. I also have an activity log here to the right, and this gives me the capability to be able to track everything I'm doing within the workflow, which means any status changes, any notes, memos, comments. A lot of times I see clients using this as a dialogue between the budget owner and the approver who might be approving the budget. This always stays with the template and it keeps the history, so it's a good way to just record everything that you're doing within the specific template. And once the budget is complete from a user standpoint, you will save the data and complete the assignment. This goes through that approval workflow and that chain of approval. And if the owner approves it, that's great. It's good to go and it's added to the final budget. If it is rejected, it does come back to the owner here to make any changes. And of course, that dialogue can be captured within the activity log here. So this is just a little bit around how the workflow will work for Full Circle and how someone can come in and enter in their budgets within the tool. Let's talk a little bit about the forecasting now that we've seen how the budget works. The forecasting piece is very similar to how we set up the budgets. I'm going to show you two quick examples here. Those are most popular ones. So the first one here is a rolling forecast. And this is really popular because for those of you who might be doing some of your forecasting manually in Excel today, it is usually a pain to be able to pull in those actuals on a monthly or a quarterly basis because you have to do a lot of cut and paste, pull in that information from the ERP, which may or may not come in at a scheduled basis, just like how it's doing here in Solver. So what you can see here that I'm pulling in a list of my actuals here, and then I have the forecast here for the remainder of the quarter that I'm looking to forecast, and I want to do this on a monthly basis. So all I'm going to do here is come in and change this month from September to October. I'm going to rerun this report, and you'll notice the actuals will automatically pull in here for the month of October, and then I can continue to forecast here for November and December. The Save Data button is inactive because I haven't made any changes. So the minute I change this number here from 500 to 800, you'll see that Save Data button activates. I can either save this against the same version, which will override that original $500 number. Alternatively, I can just click into this magnifying glass here and select any of the versions or anything else that I've created within my version control to be able to save that against. This will then give you the capability to report on those different versions that you're saving against. And if you are trying to do some of those what if scenarios, this portion here really helps. And the last template I'm going to show you here from a forecasting standpoint is a driver-based forecast. And I consider this to be a little bit more advanced, and usually I recommend people to complete one budget cycle here within Solver and then build a template like this. Reason being, what this template is trying to achieve is an automated forecast. So not a forecast where you can do a data entry or just a regular forecast in terms of a manual input. This is a little bit more predictive. So Solver is trying to predict your forecast for the remainder of the year based on a certain algorithm and a driver. So in my case here for this template, my driver is my net income. Your driver could be anything. But when I go ahead and enter in a specific number in here, you will notice that it automatically forecasts the remainder of the years, or sorry, the months here. I've just pulled in values for until March, and I'm doing it at the GL level. So really for my entire P&L. The algorithm that this report is specifically using in the back is the actuals that we're pulling in so far, plus 1 year of prior historicals. Again, the algorithm could be anything in your case. If you have multiple years of information that you want to pull in and use that as a basis, I see clients use percent of sales, percent of revenues, you might have certain pay periods. Sometimes you maybe just even want to include a global increase for a certain scenario. And that really comes from two ways. One is this column M here, where you can see I can manually adjust one, of course, it's automating that forecast piece for you, but it gives you the capability here to manually adjust that at the specific GL level. So if I say that I have a 2% product revenue increase that I know, I'm going to put that number here, press enter, and you'll see we'll automatically go ahead and adjust each of those GL line items for me to include that 2% revenue increase. The other way is doing it a little bit more globally, like I mentioned. So if you want to do it by department or by certain account groupings or by categories, you can always say, I just want to add a 5% global increase across the board and see what that looks like for me. So these are some methods that you can make those quick manual adjustments along with the automated forecast piece. When I scroll here to the bottom, you'll notice even after that 2% increase, it not only adjusted the product revenue side of things, but it went ahead and adjusted all the other line items. And the reason for that is because our end goal and our end result is still that 100,000. So our driver is still that 100,000 net income. So that's still the number that we're trying to get at. But we just now have a 2% increase there. So it is smart enough to go ahead and make those adjustments accordingly for you. All right. So this concludes the planning component. Again, just trying to give you a good overview here around how some of it works. And with those marketplace and some of our pre-built templates, you can take a little bit of a deeper dive there to see and explore some of the other capabilities that we provide around those different budget and forecast components. But what I'm going to quickly switch to here now is some reports that you might be wanting to build after you've completed your budgeting and forecasting process within the tool. So when I come into the report template section here, this is where I can house whether it is financial reports that I'm looking to build, so just general P&L, balance sheet, cash flows. There might be variance analysis type reporting that you're looking at. There might be even some operational or KPI scorecard type reporting that you might want to build. So this gives you the capability to really build anything that you are looking to here. I'm going to go ahead and click on this variance report just so I can compare my actuals coming in from my ERP plus some of those budgets that I've just completed here within the tool. So what you can see here, again, a very Excel-like layout. When I am looking to build some of these reports, you'll see some charting and graphing capabilities on this form. So if you are looking to build any dashboard style reports as a part of this, anything that comes native to Excel, all of that is available to you to be able to build some of that within the tool. You'll see some formatting and formulas here, again, native to Excel. When I start double clicking into some of these cells, you're going to notice just regular Excel formulas, so nothing too crazy happening here. But of course, you get to pick and choose what you want to see within your rows and columns, how you want to lay out the report. There's things that you can expand and collapse, just very similar to Excel, that you might be able to take a look at within the tool. You have your parameters included in this as well. So of course, the dimensions that you want to pick and choose that you can include within your parameters to filter for the information that you're trying to read. Additionally, you will have the capability to drill down into transaction level detail coming from your ERP. So if I right click into a number and I go into the GL detail, this is naturally pulling up those GL transactions that we're pulling in from your ERP directly into Solver. So you don't have to go back into the ERP or have a license into it. It just pulls in that information directly in Solver for you. You will notice that when I right click back to drill into the information, I could not only drill into the GL detail, but I can also drill into things like AR and projects because this is what I have connected into my data warehouse. So really any information that you're looking to pull into Solver, as long as it's a part of our warehouse, it gives you the capability to drill down into that detail from any report or any planning template that you're building within the tool. So it gives you that flexibility and capability as well. And you can customize these within different areas of your report. So the revenue piece, let me drill into AR. The COGS piece here, for example, you'll notice lets me drill into some of that AP detail as a part of it. And same thing here with some of the payroll accounts and salary information that I'm pulling in. And again, this takes into account the security. So some of that sensitive information there, like salaries and headcounts or compensations, those who can't see the details of it will not be allowed to view that. All right, so this shows you a little bit around how you can build some of the reports. I'm going to quickly talk about two more things as a part of the reporting, and then we'll talk about the dashboard piece. So one of the things, like I mentioned, you can do is pull in information from all those different data sources. So far, we've looked at some input templates here around the other sources and then the GL report that we just saw here. But I quickly just want to show you another report here that pulls in information from multiple sources all into one report. And this is really the beauty of being able to have that data warehouse within Solver, because some of the systems that are out there will still offer you the capability to pull in information, but when it comes to building reports within the tool, they are siloed. So you will have to build separate reports using that specific data or that specific information, and then have to combine that together and build a more consolidated report. But within Solver, it gives you the capability to pull everything all into one report at the same time. So you'll notice this customer 360 report, it's basically giving us a overview of the customer journey from a 360-degree viewpoint. So you can see here not only the customer information coming in, but you can see it at the financial level. But here at the bottom, you can also see information around products or just around AR or the maintenance piece of things. Here, there's some commentary here, which, by the way, can be an auto narrative that you might want to include within the report. So again, something that you can automate within the Solver tool. But here, just wanted to show you the capability to be able to report against those different data sources all into one report very seamlessly. All right, and the last thing here within the reporting area would be the capability to build different presentations or board packages. So one of our most popular questions that we get asked is, can we export anything that I'm building here on Solver into Excel, PDF, PowerPoint, Excel? Answer to that is yes, you can export into any of the Office tools, but keep in mind once you do export things out of Solver, of course, since you're outside the tool and you're not interacting with it, you will lose some capabilities around being able to filter and drill down into the detail. So alternatively, Solver offers you the capability to build these playlists, and these are presentation style views that you can build directly within the tool. I've combined a few different reports here, but when I click into the Show Playlist button, you will notice this presents a presentation style view here with each of these tabs, which is a separate report that I combined as a part of the package. So here I can display KPI style reports. I can display dashboard style reports. I can definitely include my regular financials as a part of this. And because I'm still presenting through Solver, I can drill down into the detail while I'm within the portal. I can view some of the filters that I've applied. So these are some things that you can't do, of course, once you've exported this out of the tool. And while we're here, I'll quickly show you this report. This is one of my personal favorites. This highlights any of the key variances or comments that were left against the board within the different reports by different users. So if you're a part of an organization which is big on commentary or leaving notes and comments, you don't individually have to go into each of those reports to view some of the comments. You can just tell Solver to pull in something like this, which summarizes everything that was left across the board. It'll give you the exact data combination with those exact values against which the comments were left, and then you can take a look at it all here in one spot. All right, and the last thing that we're going to talk about here is some of the dashboarding capabilities. So there are two options here for you within Solver. One is using, of course, our native Excel designer and our tools. So we've taken a look at some of those dashboard style reporting and some scorecard type reporting that you can, of course, build just directly within Solver. Alternatively, Solver has the capability and has the API, I should say, to connect directly into any of the visualization tools that you might be using. So more commonly within the Microsoft space is Power BI. So if you have Power BI or you even have Tableau, you can connect some of the information that you're pulling in from Solver into those tools to be able to build some of those visualizations and dashboards that you might be looking to get. So two options there. One is and I'm going to quickly just pull that one up here for you. So one is the capability to be able to get some of those Power BI templates right out of the gate. So with our Quick Start program that Mark mentioned, you get 52 Power BI dashboards right out of the gate. We can share a copy of this link with you. It's an interactive link, so it'll show you exactly what Solver offers from a dashboarding side of things with Power BI. If I were to click into any of these information boxes, this will directly take you to that dashboard. You can see it's interactive, so you can play around, expand and collapse here. You can change some of the filters you want. So you can take a look at what comes out of the box. And if you are looking to build your own dashboards within Power BI, again, you can pick and choose the information that you're moving in from Solver into Power BI. You'll see some of the information coming in, of course, laid out within Power BI, where you can now build those visualizations and dashboards according to your liking. Some of them are a little bit more generic, so I won't spend too much time on it, but this basically outlines different KPIs here. This drills down a little bit further into some of the revenues and the trends here. You'll notice these kite-like icons here with some reports attached to this. This gives you the capability to attach Solver reports directly to your Power BI dashboards. So if you're looking to access a little bit more in detail or an in-depth report in Solver and you don't have that information in Power BI, just attach that report to your dashboard, click on it, it'll take you back directly into Solver where you can now filter and drill down into the detail and take a look at anything that you've built existingly within the tool. But the last one here that I'll show you, this is our most popular one and something that everyone really seems to enjoy because it's a little bit different than the regular dashboarding capabilities, is simulation style dashboards. So if you are looking to do some cash flow planning or balance sheet planning within a tool like Solver, Power BI will give you that added capability to be able to do it in a quicker and an easier manner. So what I have here is those key KPIs pulling in from Solver that I think might affect my cash. I have a beginning balance, I have an ending goal here of 17 mil, and this here gives me the capability to be able to toggle and just see how close or far I am to that 17 mil goal. Here I've reduced my OPEX expenses, so you can then go ahead and see that I'm at the 12 million mark now. I can take this information back into Solver against a certain scenario, and I can save it against that scenario. I can come back here into the simulation, and I now say that, okay, I think my revenues are going up for service, but then my other revenues are going down, and I'm now at a 13.5 mil mark. I can take this back into another scenario within Solver and then save it against that. And of course, I can compare and do all of the reporting that I need within Solver. But you'll see this is a quick, dirty, easy way for you to be able to toggle through some of those key KPIs that are coming in from Solver, looking at what difference it makes to your cash, and then of course, taking that information back into the tool. All right. So I think this is a good point to stop. I know I've covered a lot of ground, but just to reiterate some of the key takeaways, we spoke a little bit about how we can automate that budgeting process, how we can store and save everything within Solver, how we can tie that to automated distribution through the workflow, how we can work our forecasting in, whether you're looking to do a little bit more of a frequent forecast, whether it's monthly, quarterly. We took a look at how you can build reports on that, and of course, finally build some dashboards and key KPIs within the Solver tool. All right, and I will hand it back to you, Mark and Igor, to open it up for any Q&A here and conclude the webinar.
Thank you.